강아지 있잖아. 내가 엊그제 봤거든?
복수는 내가 해.
Life was moving along happily as usual when, without warning, a terrifying earthquake turned everything upside down. In a matter of moments, the entire world was reduced to piles of rubble. Only a handful of people survived, surrounded by deserted cities, hunger, thirst, and ruins. Food and water were no longer just necessities. They had become the line between life and death. In these conditions, a single small can of luncheon meat became the greatest luxury, something that could be traded for water, medicine, shelter, even an entire life. And for this one can, people began killing each other without a second thought. At first, people traded only to survive, but slowly it transformed into a marketplace. A small society had turned into a concrete market where those with the most resources held the most power. During this time, we see a girl named Huiro, who is trapped in disaster-like conditions. Buried under rubble, she picks up a can of luncheon meat, then enters a destroyed tunnel where a man's dead body is lying, being gnawed at by rats. However, there is also a can of luncheon meat in his hand, which she takes before coming out of the tunnel. Moving forward, she reaches a vehicle where she meets a gatekeeper and shows him a bag filled with luncheon meat cans. In exchange, she plans to get survival supplies from the market, but she is warned that when the alarm sounds, she must leave immediately, or she will be considered a thief. However, in this apocalypse, Huiro's leg is severely injured, so she cannot reach the 8th floor of the concrete market, which is the place for the poorest people who have nothing to sell. Instead, she can trade her goods on the 9th floor. After taking instructions from the gatekeeper, Huiro steps out of the van and enters the market, where people are busy trading their products. As she walks through, observing everyone, a man suddenly tries to grab some items and run away. Mr. Park, the chairman of this place, has his tax-collecting thugs catch the man because he was trying to escape after stealing 2 cans of luncheon meat. Theft is strictly forbidden in this market, and anyone who dares to do so is punished. The leader of thugs, Taijin, brutally hammer nails into both of the man's hands as a warning so that no one else dares to steal. After witnessing this, Huiro asks a woman about them and learns that men are present here, but all the women stay on the 8th floor. Once the thugs finish their task, they leave, while the thief continues to writhe in pain, with the cans nailed to his hands. Huiro then approaches the man while the thugs are busy collecting their taxes. Now only one last pub remained. When they broke the lock and stormed inside, they found nothing but decomposing corpses and an overwhelming stench. As the group argued over what to do with the bodies, Huiro quietly grabbed a sack of canned food and ran toward the 2nd floor. Taijin was standing right at the door, yet he didn't notice her. When they later realized the sack was missing, everyone rushed out to search for it. Outside, the same injured thief was screaming that everything had been stolen, because when Huiro had come to him earlier, she had applied a patch to his wound and taken his wristwatch in return. After all, this was a bartering market. That man had also seen Huiro following the thugs. Hearing this, Taijin sent his men to hunt her down. We then see Huiro on the 2nd floor, where she enters a no-entry area, empties all the supplies into her own bag, and removes the fake injury from her leg. She tries to escape the building, but the thugs are already ordering the entrance to be blocked. In the chaos, Taijin runs past and collides with her without realizing it. When they fail to find the girl, one of the men discovers the empty sack on the 2nd floor, confirming that someone has taken everything. That's when Taijin remembers bumping into a girl carrying a large travel bag moments earlier. He immediately orders his men to search everywhere and declares that if she is found, she is to be killed on the spot. Mr. Park summons Taijin for a meeting. Meanwhile, when Huiro finds no way to escape, she hides the bag inside a car and buys a few items to prepare for her getaway. As Huiro is attempting to flee, she suddenly spots a familiar girl on the 8th floor. We then see that this girl, Sejong, is inside Mr. Park's room, where she has agreed to sleep with him in exchange for medicine. Park gives her 2 insulin injections and tells her to return at dinner time before sending her away. As she steps out, Taijin's team enters the room. Everyone looks down on Sejong. From water to canned food, whatever she receives is given to her for free on Park's orders. Yet we see a boy deliberately shove her while passing by, causing her to fall and spill all her water onto the floor. Huiro recognizes her as her friend, rushes to her, and breaks down in tears. Seeing the injection marks on Sejong's arm, Huiro assumes she is a drug addict. Huiro urges her to leave with her, but Sejong believes this place is very safe. She has nothing left, yet considers herself lucky that Park contacted her. She gave him what he wanted, and in return, she received the things she needed to survive. At the same time, the market alarm begins to sound, after which entry and exit from the building will be sealed. Sejong wants to take Huiro back to her place, but Huiro pulls her hand away and leaves. Later that night, we see that Huiro never actually left the building. She is hiding inside the same car where she concealed her bag. She clutches Sejong's hair tie in her hand, which triggers memories of the time they spent together before the earthquake, when Huiro used to comb Sejong's hair, just as shown at the very beginning of the film. Meanwhile, we now see Sejong with Park, who is preparing dinner.
세정아 미안한데
Around midnight, Huiro spots Taejin secretly taking out canned food for himself. It seems certain that she will be caught, but at that very moment, a loud crash echoes, drawing everyone's attention. Huiro steps out of the car and discovers that Sejong is dead. Her body has fallen from a height and slammed onto the roof of a car. Hearing the impact, Taejin's team gathers on the spot. And Chairman Park orders them to dispose of Sejong's body. They struggle to pull the corpse off the car and dump it into a pit like trash. After they leave, Huiro opens the pit door, shines a flashlight inside, and freezes in sheer terror at what she sees. In the darkness, black, cannibalistic figures swarm over Sejong's body, savagely tearing it apart and devouring it. Is there a zombie apocalypse here as well, besides the earthquake? Huiro breaks down in tears, but Taejin's men notice her and drag her away. A brutal fight erupts between Huiro and the group, but Taejin strikes her and knocks her unconscious, then orders everyone to search for the bag. We then see Park with a scratch on his face, calmly wiping it away, and putting back the 2 insulin injections he was supposed to give Sejong. The next morning, Huiro is tied to a chair, while Taejin and his men stand nearby, discussing Sejong. They say she used to go to the chairman because she was a diabetic patient and needed her medicine. Taejin and his men force Huiro to reveal where she hid the luncheon meat cans. Huiro keeps insisting she doesn't have their goods, but no one believes her. When Taejin threatens to kill her, Huiro coldly replies that she is going to die anyway, and that she wants to.
그냥 돌아가고 싶다.
Taejin pulls a plastic bag over her face and begins to suffocate her, yet despite her panic, she doesn't say a single word. At that moment, her memories suddenly become clear. Why did people say Sejong had diabetes? She never had that disease. In truth, it was Sejong's twin sister who was diabetic. Before she could think any further, Taejin receives word that Cheolmin and his men have launched an attack on the building. Cheolmin is Mr. Park's trusted enforcer, who has secretly been challenging Taejin for a long time. The two sides come face to face, and a tense exchange begins. At that moment, another jolt is felt, sending everyone into panic, yet Taejin and Cheolmin still lunge at each other like fighting roosters. Amid the chaos and the earthquake's aftershock, Huiro's chair falls, giving her the chance to escape. She grabs a nearby tool, frees herself from the restraints, and runs. Down below, Mr. Park appears. The moment Taejin and Cheolmin see him, they immediately fall silent. When Park questions them, Cheolmin quickly accuses Taejin of losing the tax money. The chairman doesn't even bother to hear Taejin's explanation and coldly asks only one thing: where the tax has gone. Taejin claims he captured the culprit and locked her in room 209, but when he looks up, one of his thugs signals that Huiro has escaped. In an instant, the balance of power completely shifts. All of Taejin's men and territory are stripped away and handed over to Cheolmin. Mr. Park then remarks with icy indifference that sparing Taejin's life and not throwing him out of the market is, in itself, the greatest mercy. Meanwhile, Huiro secretly slips into Sejong's room, apartment 109. She searches everywhere and finally finds Sejong's sister, Se-hui, hiding under the bed, gasping for breath. Huiro immediately gives her an injection, because in reality, it was Se-hui who had diabetes. Without insulin, she could not survive. That is why Han Sejong had been forced to live as her sister, sacrificing her own body in exchange for medicine. Se-hui breaks down in tears, blaming herself for her sister's death. Huiro embraces her, but her mind is already racing with calculations. Why was Sejong killed? And the remaining medicine for Seihui would melt away in just 2 days. Huiro realizes she must stay here to protect Seihui and uncover the truth behind Sejong's death. But staying there is impossible, because the apartment was provided to Sejong by Park, and she is now gone. So Huiro gathers all her luncheon meat cans for trade. Not only her own, but she also takes Taejin's cans from the trunk of his car. On the other side, we see Taejin sitting beside a sick woman in a room. Most probably she is his mother. He silently vows to take her away from this place. When he returns to his room, he finds Huiro sitting there. She boldly explains how she secretly approached Taejin and presents him with a deal. Since the canned food is already considered stolen, perhaps it doesn't need to be submitted as tax at all. She will give all of it to him. In return, she wants a place to stay and protection. Her biggest offer is this. Huiro promises that within 2 months, she will increase the value of the canned food through trade. This is a market, and she understands supply and demand better than anyone. She explains that the rainy season is about to begin. Survivors' needs will rise, and they can profit from it. That is why she asks him to give her a chance. And with this, a deal between the two is sealed. After this, Taejin forms a squad and captures a smuggler in an attempt to restore order and reclaim his lost authority. As the man is being taken outside, he remains defiant and suddenly turns to attack Taejin, but Huiro reacts instantly, striking him with a powerful blow and knocking him unconscious. Huiro then notices the smuggler's room. She sees that a refrigerator is still working and that the wiring system is surprisingly intact. At that moment, a plan forms in her mind. Soon after, Chairman Park arrives to deliver his verdict. Smuggling is declared a serious crime that cannot be forgiven. One by one, the culprits are dragged out and thrown down below to be handed over to the zombies as a warning. When it is the fat man's turn, he desperately clings on, screaming that Mr. Park needs him because he is an electrician. Without him, where would this place get electricity from? The entire group freezes for a moment. Suddenly, Huiro steps forward and kicks him hard, sending him straight down. Mr. Park stands there in shock. Huiro calmly states that she can handle the electricity herself. Only then does Mr. Park notice that she is a new face and turns to Taejin with a questioning look. Taejin quickly explains that Huiro has just joined and is still in training, apologizing to the chairman for overstepping her bounds as a newcomer. Instead of anger, Park praises both Taejin and Huiro for being bold and sharp-minded. Afterward, Huiro secretly steals the refrigerator, connects the power, and brings it into her room. At last, both sisters now have electricity, something that has become a rare luxury in this world. However, Seihui refuses to listen and secretly sneaks out alone. Huiro becomes extremely worried. If Mr. Park were to find out, everything would be over. When Seihui is caught, she instead blames Huiro, claiming that Huiro followed her, and even expresses concern about how Huiro will survive alone in such a dangerous outside world. Meanwhile, Taejin gradually begins to regain Chairman Park's trust. Cheol-min slowly senses that something is wrong. He notices Taejin repeatedly buying cigarettes and reselling them, constantly keeping the goods in circulation. But even when he confronts him directly, he receives no clear answers. Because of this, Cheol-min started hoarding even more goods to compete. But all of this was actually part of Huiro's plan. Taejin still hadn't fully understood it. All he noticed were Huiro's unpredictable moves. Huiro reminded him that it was the last day of September and the rainy season was about to begin. When it rained, everything like wood would get wet and freezing cold. Huiro advised her men to raise the prices of solid fuel and gas 3 to 5 times. As she predicted, the decision proved extremely profitable. Taejin collected 2 full sacks of canned food and handed them over to Chairman Park, while Cheol-min was left with only a few scattered cans. The results of the distribution immediately shifted. Taejin gained control over the parking lot and additional floors, while Cheol-min's territory shrank to the 8th floor, a place where people were forced to sell their bodies just to survive. Cheol-min complained, asking how he could live under such conditions. Mr. Park glared at him, and he immediately bowed his head in apology, too intimidated to say anything further. As a reward, Taejin was given a bucket of fresh cold water, a rare luxury in this post-apocalyptic world. That night, Seihui apologized to Huiro for last week and happily embraced Huiro as her sister and combed her hair. But just then, Taejin knocked on the door, saying she would have to go on guard duty with him because a teammate was sick. During the night shift, we see Taejin's thugs, disturbed by the presence of zombies in the pit, torchlight revealing the creatures lurking below. Eventually, Taejin and Huiro take over the duty in their place. When the shift changed, Taejin seemed nervous and unsettled. He used to suspect Huiro before, but now everything has changed. He wanted her to keep helping him so that he could expand his authority to even more floors.
계속 너랑 같이 하다 보면
Huiro looked at him and quietly asked a question that froze Taejin completely. In other words, had he ever thought about seizing control of the market instead of serving Park? Huiro's words were almost unimaginable to him, because all Taejin had ever felt was boundless loyalty to Chairman Park. The day the disaster struck, his entire family was dead. In the chaos, while fighting for food, he was injured and left behind by his own friends to die in the basement. It was at that moment that Mr. Park appeared and gave him a new life.
그때 회장님 아니었으면
While this life was a battle against death, a woman named Limasian on the 8th floor took care of him, the same woman we later saw Taejin sitting with. Once fully recovered, Taejin had only one purpose: to serve Mr. Park faithfully, help keep control of the market, and eventually earn enough to free Limi from the 8th floor, the filthy place everyone called a brothel. After the guard shift, Huiro returned to her room, only to feel a sudden, sharp pain in her heart. She searched for medicine, but it was a rare type even the black market didn't have. There was only one way: to get close to Mr. Park. But how could she do it? Mr. Park was the same man who had killed Huiro's friend Sejong, the fire of revenge still burning inside her.
못한 사람은 따로 있어.
Would Huiro approach Mr. Park to get her medicine or to avenge her friend? We'll find out in the next part of this series recap. So, if you want to know what happens next, make sure to comment below, like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.